In this instructional video, students will be able to represent fractions with bar models and recognize and create equivalent fractions using those models. This is the fraction 1/4. The 4 represents all the pieces of the fraction, or the whole, and the 1 represents the parts of the whole. We call these numbers the numerator and the denominator. This is a representation of 1/4. There are 4 pieces, the whole, and 1 part shaded in. If I want to create an equivalent fraction to 1/4, I can break up 1/4 into 2 groups. When I do that, my equivalent fraction is 2/8 because 2 of the pieces are shaded in out of the 8 pieces total. Mathematically, it is represented as 1/4 times 1 whole, represented as 2 halves, equals 2/8. Similarly, if I want to create another equivalent fraction to 1/4, I can break up 1/4 into 3 groups. When I do that, my equivalent fraction is 3/12 because 3 of the pieces are shaded out of the 12. Mathematically, it is represented as 1/4 times 1 whole, which is represented as 3/3, equals 3/12. If you were given 2 fractions and asked if they are equivalent, you can figure this out in 2 ways. You can draw a model, or you can set the fractions equal to each other and see if there is a relationship between the numerator and the denominator. Example, this is 5/6 and it says it's equal to 10/12. Well, let's see. This is a representation of 5/6. There are 6 pieces total and 5 of them are shaded in. If I break up 5/6 into 2 groups, I have 10/12. So I can see this way that these 2 fractions are equal to each other. I could also do this mathematically. I could set this up like this, 5/6 times something over something equals 10/12. Well, we know that the numerator and the denominator have to be the same. We have to multiply it by either 2 halves, 3/3, 4/4. We have to multiply it by 1 whole to find an equivalent fraction. So if I look at the 5 in the numerator as the numerator, I know that I can multiply 5 times 2 to equal 10. Now, in order for this to be an equivalent fraction, 6 times 2 has to be 12, and it is, so these fractions are equivalent to each other. Let's try another one. 2/8 equals 4/12. Well, here's a representation of 2/8. If I divide this or break this up into 2 groups, it does not equal 4/12. It actually equals 4/16. So these 2 fractions are not equivalent to each other. We could also check this out mathematically. 2/8 times something over something equals 4/12. Now the numerator and the denominator to find the equivalent fraction have to be the same. Again, 2 halves, 3/3, 4/4, etc. So I know that 2 times 2 equals 4. So in order for this to be an equivalent fraction, the denominator multiplied by 8 has to equal 12. 8 times 2 does not equal 12, it equals 16. So these 2 fractions are not equivalent to each other.